guys, welcome back to Ash Art Books. So today I'm going to do a recent reads. So these are going to be the books that I've read for about the last month. So kind of like the end part of December and then the first part of January up until now. So I've got about 8 books to talk about, I think. So let's go. So the first book I read was A Lover Revealed by J.R. Ward. This is book, oh gosh, I can't remember. I think it's 4 or 5 in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. I am really loving this series. So I've been buddy reading this series with Tosha from, oh gosh, I can't remember her channel name. I'm gonna put her channel name down below though, because you definitely need to go check out her channel. I'm just having a bit of a brain fart, but we've been buddy reading this together, and it's so good. Like, all the books are good. I feel like everyone knows what this is about, but basically it has to do with vampires and like a brotherhood of them, and they're warriors, and it's great. If you haven't picked up this series and you like paranormal, kind of like, I'd say it's more paranormal than urban fantasy, then definitely pick it up. It's definitely one of the favorites, and I think it's definitely worth the hype. Give this one 5 out of 5 stars. The next one is a very popular book on the booktube, and that is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This was our pick for the Lovely Ladies book club, which I do with Avery and Jen. And I think this was for our like November and December book because it was a busy time. So we already recorded the live chat for this. So if you're interested, I will link Avery's channel down below because it's already up there. So if you want to go kind of see my thoughts more in depth on this, definitely go check that out. But overall, I think all of us really enjoyed this book. It was so cute. It's about a Renaissance fair, and I'd never read anything about a Renaissance fair, and now I really want to go to one. It was one of the books that came out this year that I instantly knew I wanted to pick up, and I feel like it really did live up to it for me. I was a little worried going in because there was so much hype, but this one knocked my socks off, and I'm pretty sure it's also a debut by Jen DeLuca, so I think it's fabulous, especially as a debut, and I can't wait to continue the series. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. It was just a really enjoyable read. So the next book I read was Silk, Swords, and Surrender by Jenny Lin, and this one was a kind of group of novellas. So I believe it was 4, if I remember, yeah, 4 different novellas, all set in Tang Dynasty China. So it is historical romance, but in a setting and a time period and a country that I had not read anything from, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought it was so unique, so different, and I thought all the novellas were really well done. So each one follows obviously like a different couple, and I believe that they do kind of relate back to some of her other series, so I definitely kind of want to go check those out, but you can definitely read them without having read the series, at least in my opinion. Again, you guys know I love historical romance, but I feel like I hadn't really branched out all that much as far as like stepping away from England, stepping away from the United States, that kind of thing. So to find some that are set in different areas or eras and different countries and different cultures was really fun, and I thought that the author did a fantastic job of like immersing us in that world and in that time period, and I thought it was great. So if you're looking for something a little bit different, they're also really quick reads because they're novellas, so I thought it was really well done, and definitely check it out. I give that one 4 stars. Next one I read was Her Christmas Robe by Christy Caldwell. This was a pretty quick Christmas kind of novella I read. It's again historical romance. I love Christy Caldwell. I think she writes fantastic historical romance, and I've read quite a few of her other books. So for some reason, when I saw the cover for this one, I just had to pick it up. I don't know, for some reason I really love this cover. So I believe this was actually a re-release. I think it was released before as part of like maybe like a pack of other authors. But she re-released it this Christmas, and I think it was super enjoyable. Any time of year it would really be enjoyable, but especially during the holidays. It kind of follows a character who has been in love with one of her brother's best friends pretty much her whole life, and then all of a sudden she's kind of starting to come into her own and get a little bit older, become like a woman, and he kind of notices her. And so it's a lot of those tropes that we see and that I really like a lot, but I thought it was just really well done. Christy Caldwell's writing, in my opinion, is fantastic, and I think I always just find myself really rooting for the characters. And yeah, it was super fun novella. I gave this one 4 stars. I just kind of wish we had more, but that's more just because sometimes with novellas, I just always want more, but it's not really a fault of the book necessarily. But yeah, 4 stars, definitely enjoyable, and check it out if you want something kind of quick and fun. Next book I read was Headliners by Lucy Parker. So this is Lucy Parker's newest book that will be coming out when you're watching this. It should be this coming Monday, January 20th. It's her newest book in her London Celebrity series, and if you've been around a while, you might know that I am the biggest Lucy Parker fangirl ever. I love all of her books so much. I've read them all. I think I've given all of them, I think, 5 stars. They're so good, guys. So her whole London Celebrity series kind of follows a lot of her characters who are on like the West End in London. This one kind of stepped outside of that a little bit. So it follows the sister of our previous book, which you don't have to read. You can definitely read these as standalone, but I will say a lot of the past characters do kind of pop up. So I would say start at the beginning because Act Like It, which is the first book in the series, is phenomenal. But if you want to jump into this one, you definitely can. It's a standalone. So it follows the sister from our previous book, and she is on TV. So she's not like an actor, but she's like a host, a TV host, but like a really big time one. Like she hosts some of the really big events on TV and does like the news and things like that. She's very well known and very successful. Well, in the previous book, we got a little taste of it, but this book follows her and her kind of rival in the business. And so the two of them are always going head to head, trying to compete with each other to see who's like the best headliner, who's the best host, who's getting the best jobs. And they've kind of always been that way. Well, through a turn of fate, these two kind of have to work together in order to help their careers. And it just made for the best recipe for like angst and witty banter, and I love this book so much, guys. Like, trust me, check out this series. It's so good. Her characters always have like the perfect amount of like flaws, in my opinion, to kind of make them seem real, but also like the dream guy or like the dream girl. But you feel like you also could like see them on the street somewhere. Again, being in London was super fun. Even though it wasn't like the theater scene, it was still like TV. So that was interesting, kind of seeing the behind the scenes of like a morning show, because a morning show has to do with the storyline of this book. So I loved it. If you're looking for a contemporary romance, definitely check out Lucy Parker. I think her whole series is great, but Headliners was fantastic and I gave it 5 stars. I forgot to mention, obviously, since this one doesn't come out till this coming week, I did read this one as an ARC from NetGalley, so just wanted to mention that. So then I also have been continuing my reading of the Kate Daniel series from Ilona Andrews, and I read book 8, which is Magic Shifts, and then I read book 9, which is Magic Bind. So I'm gonna just talk about them together because since they're so far into the series, I can't really say much because it would give way too much away, other than just to say, if you are like me and hadn't picked up the series, it is phenomenal. It's like an urban fantasy series with magic and shifters and just really cool Atlanta. So it takes place in like a post-shift, they call it, but kind of like a post-apocalyptic type Atlanta, Georgia. And it's obviously the series is amazing already, but I didn't realize when I picked this up, it actually takes place really close to where I live. And so that's really interesting just because a lot of the like roads and things like that are that they mention, I know where they're at. So it's obviously nothing like it because it's post-apocalyptic, which is just kind of cool. So yeah, I love Kate. I love Karan. We're getting close to the end. I'm actually reading the last book right now. So that'll be in my next wrap up, I'm sure, but it's so good and I just don't want it to end. I've been dragging this series out since like June because I just don't want it to be over, but these are fantastic and I really enjoyed it. I gave both of them 5 stars. The next book I read was Passion on Park Avenue by Lauren Lane. So this is a contemporary romance and it follows a woman who kind of grew up not in the best area of town. She definitely came from pretty much nothing, but she's made something for herself. She is pretty much a millionaire now. She has a business that she runs. She's very successful, very smart. And in her past, her mom worked as the kind of maid for a very wealthy family on Park Avenue. So something kind of happened when her mom was the maid for this wealthy family that kind of turned our character's world upside down and not in a good way. So years have passed and she's kind of made it her mission in a way to kind of stick it to the family and basically say, hey, look at me now, like I've become successful and I can afford to live in the building that you live in. So that's kind of the setup for this, but it's so much more. Like I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars, but the more I think about it, I really think it's more like a 4.5, maybe 5-star for me, because I really liked the characters. It's on the outside, yes, it's about kind of the plot I just said, but so our love interest in this, there's a twist with that, which I don't really want to say because I want you to check it out, but it's someone from her past, and I thought it was really well done. Kind of there's an illness in this that I thought was really well represented just from what I've seen of it, that gave a lot of depth to the characters and a twist on it. I loved our main character. She was so feisty and strong and independent, and then the friendship group that's in this that kind of sets off the next 2 books in the series have me so excited to get to the next 2 and see the friend stories as well. So I love this. It was such a good contemporary romance, and if you're looking for one, I definitely would recommend. Also, Jen sent me this from Jen's bookshelf for Christmas, so thanks, Jen. I really loved it, and I hope you guys check it out. The next book I read was Dalliance and Devotion by Felicia Grossman. This is another historical romance, and this one was fantastic. This is another historical romance, and I forgot to mention in the previous book, Silk Swords and Surrender, I was sent that book from Harlequin and Reed Bliss, which I work with, so I just wanted to mention that. In this book as well, I was sent from Harlequin and Reed Bliss for a project we're doing together, so just wanted to throw that out there just to be transparent about everything. But this one was so good. I loved it. So I have heard of Felicia Grossman. I believe this is her 2nd book, and the first one I need to go back and pick up because this one was so fantastic. But it's set in Philadelphia, kind of post-Civil War era, which is a really interesting time and place that I hadn't really read much about at all. And then our main characters are both Jewish. They have Jewish heritage or religion, I guess I'd say, which again, so unique, very different, and I really enjoyed it. So our main character in this is about 25, and she has already had 2 divorces, which at the time is pretty frowned upon in society. And you do find out why that happened, or kind of like her reasoning behind the events that occurred, because it was for a good reason. So she's our main character. She is so fun. She's the youngest in a family that I think the books are about their family. And she actually is so into like beauty and fashion, and she writes this like fashion column for a local paper. And it's just, she's such a unique character for historical romance. And then our hero is a Pinkerton, and he's someone from her past. He's like one of her brother's good friends. So she's known him for a long time, and they perhaps had a past romance of some form when they were younger. So at the beginning of the book, the story starts off with her on a train, and her hero comes on and says, I have to protect you. And she's like, whoa, now, what are you doing? And him and a couple other Pinkertons are there to protect her because of her kind of reputation. She's getting these threats, and they don't know where they're coming from, and they kind of have to watch out for her. This book was so good, guys. It has so many good tropes. It has like the brother's friend trope. It has, they're kind of on like a road trip type thing because they're on the run. It was so good. I really recommend this author. I thought her writing was fantastic. And again, I really enjoyed kind of getting a better view or kind of peek into a culture that I just wasn't really familiar with. And I think that really shaped the characters really well, especially our hero, because you get to hear a lot more about his past. And I loved our hero, David. He was so like swoony. He's intellectual, he's smart, and I was all there for it. So definitely check this one out if you like a good historical romance that's a little bit different from your norm. The last book I read was Lover Unbound by J.R. Ward. This is book, oh gosh, we don't know. I don't know. I think it's book 6. Maybe in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, and I just finished this one like yesterday, and it was so good. So this series, like I said in the previous book, is fantastic. If you like paranormal, go pick it up. I will say this one is about the character Vicious and his love interest Jane, and I love the characters. I really love Jane. She's a doctor and a surgeon and a complete badass. Like, Jane's just got it going on, and I really liked her with Vicious. I thought it was a really good pairing. However, I don't know, something about this book for me, maybe it's because it's pretty fat, I just felt like it didn't have quite the same like zing as some of the books I've read in the series that I'm like so emotionally attached to the characters. I mean, I liked these, but they weren't like I wasn't as emotionally attached to them, if that makes sense. I think it's also because there were a lot of different storylines going on in this as well, almost more so than normal, and I did like hearing the other storylines, but I thought it kind of took away from the main characters or the main like couple. But it did set up the next book, which is Fury's book, really well, so I definitely want to pick that one up. And I gave this one 4 stars just because of kind of the reasons I just said, but still a fantastic like addition to the series. Alright guys, so those are the books I read from the end of December until this point in January. So let me know what you guys are reading. Are you reading anything good, anything bad? I'd like to know. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!